Welcome, everybody, to the Polarized podcast. The bad boys are back. Part due. The boys are back in town. All of those sayings about boys doing stuff. It's us. The boys are doing it today. Talking movies. This is the Polarized podcast. Hey, everybody. How are you? Hope you're doing well out there. If you didn't know, this is a podcast. I'm sure you knew that part, but let me tell you about the part you didn't know, then what this podcast might be about, which is about polarizing movies. Polarizing movies in the sense of Rotten Tomato scores. Sometimes critics hate it, and sometimes audiences love it, or vice versa. And those are the movies we talk about on this podcast. We like to get into, this is the polar zone. It's been dubbed such, and if you want to be a polar bear, come on in. Come on into the polar zone. We're going to be talking a great movie. I'm going to just bury the lead a little bit. We're talking Bad Boys 2. The score for this movie, for all you numbies heads, this is a 23% on the critic side. Stinky. And then 78% on the audience side. Loving it. Polarized movies. Bad Boys 2. What else do I got to say? And it's not just me talking at any given time. It's not just me. Sometimes it's only me. Sometimes there's, our forever guest, my co-host, but no, it's always going to be not just me. It's going to be my co-host. I'm going to bring him in now so we can spend the maximum for a maximalist film, the maximum amount of time talking about said film, Bad Boys 2. So I'm going to bring him in now. Put your hands together for Mr. James Lindsay. How the hell are you?
Hey, everyone. How's it going? Okay. Easy now. All right. I know. I was here last week. Okay. I know I'm the forever guest, but we don't have to pander to me. But okay. Hello. Thank you. This is the one where this is a two-piece, the same as this movie. I'm a semi bad boy on occasion, and this is not the singular podcast. Brandon, that's Brandon's other podcast we talked about where you screaming into the void. I'm excited for that one. You're still working on it though, right?
I'm still working on it. Yeah, right now it's just inaudible screaming and yelling. So, I need to fix the levels and maybe I'll put it out.
Yeah, I mean that's something where it's hard to get in touch with your inner self to work on that, because it's you can't do it alone, but then to split yourself apart into wearing multiple hats, I know that's tough. So
it is.
Good luck with that, and
thank you so much.
Let me know if the void screams back. For now, we'll just continue to be our semi bad selves. I don't know. How do you relate with this movie, Brandon?
That's such an excellent question, James. I'm so glad you're starting off
let's
with
start
there. Let's start there. Let's
when
really
you see Bad Boys 2, you're like, listen, this one might get me.
It just makes me want to be so bad
like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You want to be bad. It makes you want to be bad.
Yeah, because I don't think I'm as bad as these bad boys all the time, but man, does it make me want to be bad.
Aspirations, yes.
Aspirational badness, yeah.
They really got it. They're like in step in this movie more. Like I mean, the first one is great from my memory as well. I don't remember a lot of it to be honest, but this one, it just seems like they just like goes, and they're like together, and their chemistry is electric. We just got to say that off the gate. But
yeah, absolutely.
It makes me want to be a little bad sometimes too. It's like, hey, there's the man staring me in the face, and maybe I just want to do it my way. Thank you very much.
Oh,
but then
my way. All right, Frank Sinatra.
Did it my way.
I think Frank would have liked this movie.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's like, hey, the scenery, babe. That's my Frank.
Yeah, that's your Frank. That's nice. That's good. That's fine.
Hey, yeah, go down to Miami and watch this new picture.
Yeah, I'm so glad this franchise exists, because I mean, first and foremost, Will Smith in this.
You like this franchise?
I like this franchise. Yeah, this is a good franchise for me, and I like this. I like this Will Smith a lot.
Yes, I absolutely agree there. Good point.
this is kind of like what screaming a little peek into what screaming into the void's kind of like, but I was talking to myself about and arguing with myself with is this my favorite Will Smith performance? And
Mm,
I want to really say yes, because
yeah.
it's the best he ever looks. It's the funnest he ever is. He's
prime Will
totally
Smith for
tuned
sure.
in to what's going on. Like, this role is perfect for him.
I agree.
Absolutely
He
perfect.
works really well for a Michael Bay movie as well, and you start to question like what's Michael Bay's peak as well, but that maybe is another discussion. But Will Smith, he's on such a tear, and I mean it could be argued for Michael if this is Michael Bay's best movie too, sure, but like he's on such a tear at this time. At this time, Will Smith, like I mean, I guess I'd have to pull up, where this
he's at,
is placed and everything, but I absolutely love Men in Black and his whole sci-fi run and everything like that. And I guess Independence Day would be in there somewhere as well. But this is something where I like how crass it is. I like where he's a little unhinged, and it's and for Michael Bay a little bit for that matter too. There's some fucked up shit. The humor's a little. It's a little off sometimes. It's a little morose and almost
morose,
like morbid some of the shit and pretty fucked up, but
edgy.
But man, if the backbone of this movie and something that I'm not sure if there's a scene that I guess there's some with like the gangster bosses and all that stuff, but like there's really not many scenes without them in this movie, and that's such a winning part of it, is just banking on their chemistry. Them two back at it. The boys are back in town. They're the bad boys, and they're back in town for part 2. And it's you can feel. Yeah, you said maximalist right off the bat too. You can feel the energy where they're just throwing everything at the wall, and no one's saying no to old Michael Bay, old Mikey.
Oh my Mikey. Yeah, my God. There is so maximalist almost doesn't even fall short a little bit, because there are just parts in this movie where I was like, holy shit.
There's a lot.
How did you do that? Because it's just a lot of this movie is action scene to action scene to action scene, and the way that Michael Bay, and I think we've talked about this before, but like Michael Bay, just briefly, career wise, like he came from directing music videos to directing movies. He has a very unique style. We've talked about Bayham, I believe, before. And this too, I can really get on board with this being his best, is because this is where, for better or for worse, he's on his bullshit.
Yeah.
But like, that ends up being such a caricature, I feel like, after this. But this is like the pinnacle of like, he hasn't done this enough for it to be fatigued on it, but you can start to see like a little bit of hearing so much more for show than substance, because the difference, because I rewatched Bad Boys 1, in getting ready for this discussion, and obviously it's an action movie for sure through and through, and it's an amazing movie, but there's so much more relationship stuff in that. When you look at like what the runtime of Bad Boys 1 is composed of, it's a lot of really funny them talking about shit. Not necessarily them like going on a chase and blowing shit up, whatever. It's them talking about it. So there's more meat on those bones than just like over the top action every which way, just busting at the seams. But I don't know, it just like, it can hit you, and it was hitting me like, but when you're in the mood for that, it doesn't, like, you don't necessarily want the story to get bogged down, right? Like, you don't want to, you kind of just want a bunch of action shit. Like, you want it to kind of rip and roar.
This is where the roads diverge, I think, for a lot of people, which is why this movie's on this podcast, right? Where like, this is where arguably a lot of the critics would say he is going too far. No, you've pushed it too far.
Jumped the shark.
Mr. Bay, PU, stinky, pew, I gotta go. But if this is a lot of what you liked from Bad Boys, from my memory, and they repeat some like fan servicey sort of things, but it's so much more than that, and it's so much of there's so much in this movie to pinpoint. It would be my guess. A lot of these reviews would point to too much.
Yeah, too much, all flash, no substance. Yeah, for sure. But again, yeah, I don't know. Like, another thing that, could also be featured on Screaming Into the Void is an argument I was having with myself about whether or not this is one of the most rewatchable movies we've done on this podcast. And I was revisiting, what we have done in the past. And I mean, this movie is crazy rewatchable. Like, sure, you don't necessarily have to stay for the whole thing because you fucking get it. Like, anybody gets it right off the bat. You're like, yeah, it's going to be about them busting a drug dealer. Okay, you get it. Like,
absolutely.
Moving on, like, onto the next car chase, or house exploding or whatever, or people having a massive gunfight. And this might be one of the most rewatchable movies. Let me posit to you the ones that were in contention for me as the most rewatchable movies that we've done on this pod, and those would be Night at the Roxbury.
Yes. Super Troopers. And that's in that league.
Super Troopers. That would have been like an honorable mention for me, but like, what else? It was Night at the Roxbury.
So we got Fear and Loathing here.
The Holiday.
Oh, The Holiday would
like really just like very, not necessarily like my favorite, because like I think Fear and Loathing I've watched a lot and I do find it really rewatchable, but that movie's like kind of long, meandering in a lot of places, and like sure, I like bits and pieces of it, but like I don't know, when it comes to, if I were to consider most rewatchable as like if it was on, I would watch a fair amount of it. Would I finish it? Maybe not, whatever, but like how much of this do I enjoy always rewatching it? And yeah, then it was like what else? What was another one? There was three, including Bad Boys 2.
Men in Tights is pretty great. Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I mean, some of these comedies are what I think of. Never Say Never. I mean, that was a really special for some Bond heads.
Yeah, and those would be it. You're right. Yeah, those. So really, great. it's like comedies by and large, and then and then this standing out as being both a comedy and an action movie. But
maybe
I don't know, man.
Additions to the Polarized collection. Go on down to your local Polarized store and pick yourself up a copy of Fear and Loathing. We talk about just how much we love it the whole time.
I know, yeah. If
a
you
lot
just
of those movies I just mentioned, we're just like, oh my god, remember this part?
You're right. Yeah. If that's the kind of day you're having where you want to just hear people talk lovingly about a thing, hey, we're directing you to the episodes where that is the case.
And I think, for this one, I will definitely have criticisms, and my fatigue on Michael Bay has had almost more to do with me just changing my taste in some movies, like as I've grown older and everything. And some of it is just exhausting, so like I watched, you and I watched Ambulance together, and that is essentially, one long action movie. And that's amazing for, his willingness and ability to do that. And I've heard some stories about that movie of his guerrilla kind of filmmaking still at this late in his directing career and doing all these, Transformer schlock. He's like, running around and getting certain shots and just asking really quick on like police just on the streets if he can shoot real quick. And that's kind of stuff is admirable. But man, the editing process of these movies is rough.
Like a strobe light.
Yeah, it's just rough sometimes, man. Like I don't know how else to put in. I was gonna like watch it. It's good for like a daytime sort of thing, because and you just let it play and kind of walk away for a second and come back. And you're talking about Bad Boys 1 and having some of that character stuff. I can see where people would get off board for this one, but the set pieces alone in this movie are breathtaking. I know they're like amazing set piece after set piece, and you almost like don't even appreciate it for what it is, because it is so chopped up in the editing room. I know. And it is so like stacked with other shit going on too, that it's hard to resonate some of the stuff he's throwing out there. But his movies continue to be entertaining, even though I've only seen the first Transformers. I don't know if I'm going to get on that train.
I know. Yeah. Same. Yeah. I just, that IP I don't really care about. So there's
you don't like that Frenchie?
I don't like that for cheeks.
I've looked at it for our podcast, and it's like, no, they're all kind of poopy doopy snoopy on the ratings front. Exactly. Not to say that dictates necessarily, obviously not, if it's movies are going to keep going, but that franchise has been going, and they're all like pretty bad reviews on all. Like
I know
all those, but they keep making them.
Yeah, because I mean, a quality of this movie, for better or for worse, is it kind of feels like you're getting so much for your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel like he's looking at it like that too. He's just like, nah, I want them to walk out of the theater like,
like,
wow.
I got multiple car chases and multiple exploding houses. Like, I just like we're on land, air, water.
We're filling up the Michael Bay bingo card.
And that's just the first half, you know? Because I mean, to get in,
we did a Michael Bay movie on this podcast as well. I mean, we talked about Armageddon, and that's probably a lot of people's favorites. But even that one's on our podcast, a polarizing movie. I don't know. So there's some people that just don't like.
I like this way more than Armageddon. That's for sure. I'm sorry.
Same. Yeah,
this is. If I had to choose between the two, it's an easy decision for Bad Boys too, because Armageddon is just so bogged down in the emotional stuff that Michael Bay sucks at.
Yeah, it's like you want more of that, but then you see it and then it's not done super well. I mean, the one that would be possibly in contention for me, and I should watch The Rock again. I know a lot of people like that one, but,
sure.
And I know I have seen it. It is good, but I like Pain and Gain quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I mentioned this on the Armageddon episode, where that movie is about a bunch of fucking idiots and dum-dums.
Michael Bay excels at. Yeah.
And it's in like a locale similar to this, which I also want to say him shooting in like a beachside town really works with like his cinematography stylings and like the saturation and everything, and like the sweat glistening and like the, how bright everything, like it just works in like Miami or Pain and Gain, I think, is in Miami, right? Or Florida.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah. But
maybe LA, but like it's either if Florida or LA.
But the thing I like about that is like, there's like idiots that think they're cool.
Right.
And he's like directing and showing them to kind of be like heroes.
He understands that
within their own story. There is some subtext in that movie, and like he makes it like, oh, they think they're the heroes in their own story, and they're like when they're really just dum-dums. Some subtext goes over his head, I think, even, and then that's where it becomes fun to laugh at it, like in a campy sort of way. But yeah, there's certain other things where it's just like, oh, he thinks this is really cool right here, and you're just kind of like, that's where it rubs me the wrong way a little bit. But the thing that supersedes that is, again, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence together.
Martin Lawrence, holy fuck,
they just rise above anything. Like,
they're like,
you put them together, and it's
god, they're so fucking fun together.
They're so fun, yeah.
It's like, oh my god, it's fun all the time. It is all. I love their relationship. I love their dynamic. I love their dialogue, because you can tell that Martin Lawrence is being a guy who's written for shows, starred in shows. Like, he is facilitating the conversations that they're having. And Will Smith is so tuned into Martin Lawrence, because I'm sure they've been friends for a really long time or whatever. And their relationship off screen shows up on screen in a way that's like magnetic.
Yeah.
You're like, God, these guys have this fun, kind of complicated relationship, because thing that's like starts to really get like almost to a fault make a point of is how Martin Lawrence is like the
kind of the Danny Glover,
like a hippie-ish kind of guy about things,
Yeah.
And that, because like that's okay. So in the first one, it's more of like he's like the realist is how I would frame him in one. It's like he's a realist, like he is not wanting to just go in guns a-blazing, like he wants to, figure out how to do this. And then Will Smith's like, no, we need to just go in there because the guy's right there. Let's go get the fucking guy. And then, that's their dynamic. But in this, it's just like him and a lot of just like doing the therapy stuff, which crops up with Joey Pants is like also on board with the therapy shit.
I love him so much.
I love,
he's another perfect casting. Because a lot of times he in movies is the number two guy as I'm thinking, especially of the Fugitive and what's the one with Wesley Snipes? That's essentially Fugitive with the same cast, except they're chasing Wesley Snipes. and then wrongfully accused of the Leslie Nielsen movie makes fun of. But he's always like the number 2 guy, and he's in Tommy Lee Jones. It's just like, yeah, I need this and to set a perimeter, and he's just like, yeah, you got it. To see him as the exasperated boss, and that's what's so funny is like all those awesome. Nodes are filled for them to have fun of like, you guys, here's like the man is Joey Pants, but he's just not even necessarily. He is mad, but he's more exasperated.
Exactly,
and done with their
especially in
bullshit.
this.
And
to the way that it's like massaging his earlobes and being like, they go into his office and he's got like incense burning and shit. And
that's the through line for Martin Lawrence's character too. And that's a fun comedic through line that I think works pretty well as all the Wusa stuff. And it's,
oh my God.
It is
ecstasy
like
scene is so funny.
There's a tinge of, a boomer Michael Bay kind of, and his commentary on therapy and what he thinks of it, and kind of just totally. Being kind of pedantic and kind of looking down on it on it a little bit.
Like it's pussy ass shit. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But it's still a way you can like look at the layers, and they're very simple, and kind of laugh at it or enjoy it however way you want. But it's also, there's some stuff that I don't know, that is very like man boomer mentality, like the woman with big boobs that Martin Lawrence like goes under the sheet with, that's dead, and commenting all that's
upsetting.
That shit is
I'm glad you brought
upsetting. Like I'm just kind of jumping around right now, but there's just like there's some like
gross
comedic things that are played for laughs that are like
yucky.
And that's where it reminds me like Boondock Saints and shit like that too, where there's just like certain moments in movies like that you see that got
it's that edgelord like really shitty mentality of like, a naked chick is a naked chick no matter what, like that ethos, right, is like just horned up, really non-sensitive, just it's shitty. That was so unnerving to me, that there was like attention with the camera paid to him being under the sheet with a dead body, and it was a woman that was naked,
and they said like the room smelled like shit, and he's just like the depravity of these characters,
disgusting.
And like he's saying like, oh fuck you, like, but you guys set this joke up for him to say fuck you, and then there's a close-up on this dead woman's like fake boobs for like how long in this movie, but there's just like stuff like that has to be mentioned within the Michael Bay verse of how he coordinates humor and things like that, and time.
Yeah, it's
time
like it's a man child. He has the sensibilities of a man child, like to the point of the focusing on the corpse's tits, being like that's what a 13-year-old boy would be like. Yeah, that's his sensibility.
Just commentating on people's physicality regardless of age, even the daughter, and like humor made of a child being childhood obesity, like they were even making fun of that, like saying like,
I enjoyed though the perspective of the dad, the crime boss. I was really into his like very rigid of like, I think you're beautiful. This is, and you shouldn't want to be these models because they're the devil. Like you should be this, but and then he gets really fucking pissed at the guy,
the dead woman, as well as like that's why even just to set that up for another character to be like, hey, that's wrong. But it's like, I don't know, it just doesn't.
Do you actually think it's wrong? Right, because you're spending the time and attention to have that in like making a point of it. Like, do you even like? Yeah, right. It's like somebody with a shitty sensibility be like pointing out like a moral thing as just kind of like virtue signal, like, see, I'm not that bad, like, I can have fun with this, or I can
kind of have your cake and eat it too, because you have the joke, right, and you do have the community, it's played for laughs, the community, and then you have a character being like, hey, but then there's even the thing of like people falling out the back of the fucking van, and then Joey Pants has to be like, hey, you can't run over dead fat people. Why do you have to see they're fat? Jesus, they're fucking dead. Like, come on. Like, you can't kick them while they're down. Like, their fucking organs got harvested and shit. Come on. It's just weird like undertones of things like that. I'm glad we're at least mentioning, but if we can mention, like some of the bigger set pieces, and it's a long movie to go through all the beats of, but some of the big set pieces like the
let's get into it.
KKK with our cross burning fucking
Michael Shannon
with fucking Michael Shannon. Yeah,
dude, young Michael Shannon loved that.
Michael Shannon.
You know what? I before we like fully get into it, and I guess this is getting into it because it's a drug bust that has fucking what's his face from Black Flag. What's his Henry Rollins. Henry Rollins.
Oh yes.
We got Michael Shannon, drug bust with a KKK. You know what I thought was really interesting is that the directed by Michael Bay, in the background is a burning cross. Whoa. If you're gonna pick for your name to be on something, like what a it's very evocative, obviously. Because it's a burning cross, right? Because it has so much baggage and connotation to it. But it's again, just to kind of segue and to talk about the sensibilities of Michael Bay, is he's regardless if that's racist, it looks cool the way I'm shooting it. So I'm going to put my name when that happens is really, really insane. Is weird, but
yeah. I do think that the using it as lighting in the scene, is effective.
I could talk about lighting in this movie for ages because it's so crazy how many times you could tell
and it's
just
why don't we just shoot a flashlight right in Henry Rollins' face? I mean, I guess they do have flashlights.
Because it's also that sensibility of these are beautiful people and we need to make sure that we can see all of them, regardless of it looks like shit.
There's so many glory shots too. It's just
my god, they're out on having that barbecue at Martin Lawrence's place. Will Smith is having a conversation with that undercover cop sister of Martin Lawrence, and it's just the harshest fucking lighting where you can see that somebody is blasting a light on a metal or whatever those reflective things, and it's just the light is clearly coming up from the bottom onto people's faces, so you can clearly see Will Smith. Because yes, of course, he's a great looking dude, and it's that weird sensibility of I'm doing this more so because he's a beautiful person and not considering whether or not it's actually looks good in the whether you can overcome it looking kind of shitty from the movie standpoint because you can clearly see Will Smith, and it
overall works. And it is a sort of experience where you're very much aware you're kind of watching a movie the whole time because it is just so put on for show.
Yes.
And then also the quick cuts and everything, you don't whatever part of the shot that might fuck up or something is just quick, move on to the next thing. And then it's
zoomed in too, which
slows down for those glory shots, of course, and a lot from down low looking up at Will Smith doing some cool fucking pose with usually he does a lot of dual wielding guns, which looks pretty fucking badass when they pull off all the robes and everything. But just the speed of the edits, and then when they do choose to slow down is a roller coaster ride, and then already pretty disorienting experience. I find it so funny that ecstasy is the drug in this movie. I thought so. It's thinking the KKK just having a Klan rally or whatever. And they're just rolling balls.
What the fuck? It's speed, obviously. But to me, it's just
maybe it's
again, it just seems like Michael Bay being people have done cocaine drug movies for ages. We got to do something cool and different and hip and young, and ecstasy is that. It is this new, especially in this time.
Miami is a place that maybe
a club scene, huge club scene, obviously. I mean, god, they have Ultra, which is one of the biggest music festivals, electronic music festivals.
They show the one guy ODing, but yeah, it looks like they're just eating them like candy.
I know. Could you imagine getting in that club? Because and then how much they have too is you see
and
what's his face.
In such sexy ways so where they're just
Peter Strohmeyer.
Yes,
oh my god,
yes,
Peter Strohmeyer, and it's just
fucking love
just
that guy.
These huge mountains of ecstasy pills, and you're none of these people know how this drug works. You never need any of this. You literally can have a like a gallon Ziploc bag, and you could probably get away with the evening by and large for one club at least.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know. Like, sure, people are going to the club and taking 2 pills in a night or whatever. Like,
yeah,
unless everybody in the club is getting your shit, like, why do you need?
How much is?
I don't know,
money
2,000 pills.
I could see why they'd be upset about 2 bags when they make the bus. They're just like, oh, we got 2 bags of ecstasy. Like, who the fuck cares? I mean, like, you get them off the street,
right?
All that stuff. But it's like there's just so many things that mean a lot more weight and money and lives and addiction and everything. It's just a different kind of different kind of thing. But yeah, like seeing the KKK rally and then they're just like, yeah, we got our ecstasy. Woo! Oh, let's drop some. Listen, get weird. They're just like raving to a burning cross. It just is a weird sort of image. And then like the one guy that.
Could you imagine if they were just like rolling and like. Still hating other minorities? It's just like, it seems like almost impossible that they would just be like up on ecstasy, just fucking rolling and just being like, yeah, we still fucking hate those other people. You'd be like, no, man. Oh, man, I fucking love you, dude.
They just roll up. They're like, you know what? We changed our mind. this is all wrong.
You know what? Everybody's cool. It just, oh God, yeah, I couldn't get over the ecstasy thing all throughout the movie because it really to me seemed like what is the flavor of the month rather than what actually makes sense from like a drug dealing perspective. You know, obviously ecstasy is like a classified drug, narcotic. Like there are people peddling lots of it, but it just weirdly doesn't seem like this is how it would be like. Kind of transported and like how much and who would be doing it, because it's just like people can be doing coke every single day. I don't think anybody's, well, maybe not anybody, but very few people are rolling like all the time for it to be one of those things where you're like, we need just like fucking pounds and pounds of these pills for like I don't know, like it just seemed like they had enough pills for like months.
I know.
Okay. Like I don't know. I guess you don't need a shipment for a while. Like I don't.
It seems like what else are you doing on top of this? Like the clubs must be doing well. Like you need like ecstasy is a front for your club because I don't know. Like it seems like you would do that on top of cocaine or something else.
Cocaine for sure. It would 100% be cocaine. Like that's the one that's like, you can move.
Or there'd be some sort of undercurrent of like, oh, they've been cutting the ecstasy pills with this other shit because it's not really good stuff. And people are like overdosing because it's not, like, and they're trying to take advantage of people. So I don't know, something like that could add.
Right, but it's not that great point.
Add some teeth to it or something like that. But no, it's just ecstasy. I mean, it pays
it's
off.
It's just really good ecstasy is what they kind of say. It's like, it's just like really powerful. Like they don't, because you're absolutely
said too. I mean, that scene pays off.
And he didn't die in OD or whatever.
Great time. It seemed like
oh my God. You know what that scene made me just, so we recently had talked about, Fast 10 and how there's the scene with Han where he does the drugs and then it just goes nowhere. Like and I'm like, then I watch this, I'm like, this is so fun to watch the payoff of like a straight-laced guy like accidentally ingest drugs that aren't going to kill him or anything, but he's just like has to deal with this trip or whatever. And it was a blast, like going over to Joey Pants' place, like him walking around, him being like, oh, I got my dick back, and just being like pumped on that shit. It was so funny.
It was great.
Him like in the car too, like pulling up to Joey Pants' place. He's like, God, what is this supple?
Oh yeah, he's like supple leather. Oh my God, that was supple so leather. Funny.
Then Will Smith reacting to all of Martin Lawrence's shit on ecstasy was so great because he just, I don't know, he handled it.
He's like, oh shit, and just like, oh shit, and then he's just like sitting next to the statue, like showing his nipples and shit, and like dripping in sweat, and Joey Pants just like. His whole deal, exasperated, ignorant, or just like tired, like can't like not attentive to what's going on around him. Just played for laughs in a really in a way that worked within the performances from a setup that maybe has been played in a lot of different ways. But I think that again the performances that very much made it. Thinking of like Quaaludes and Wolf of Wall Street or something like that almost reminded me of that.
Yeah, it oh god, it makes me think of like
The supple leather, you know. And then he
a
like bite, he
fascin-
like points at it, he like tries to like bite. He's like, "You got to be normal," or whatever. And he's just like, he's like gonna bite his finger. It was so funny.
Oh, I love how naturally too, and that and the scene with him rolling is an example of that. Is like Joey Pants like is looking after him after that. Like when they've
Right.
established that he's rolling, they like take care of him. It isn't like this
a
huge
poison
blow up.
center.
Right. Like it isn't a huge blow up. It's like, okay, we're going to try to keep your body cool and then send you on your way. And then they never talk about it again.
Love
like
it.
it's just, I love it. Like and there's always that air about Joey Pants with the guys is that he is all like on the surface, very frustrated and mad with them. But he's like, wants them to succeed and cares about them as opposed to being just so stoic and so like all I care about is the results.
And
like,
they kind of skip the part where like he's like, "Hey man, like, you know, CIA or whoever fucking
the sister
FBI or someone like DEA is gonna come in and they're up my ass about all this shit, so you guys gotta like." There isn't really that discussion until the end when they have to do the raid on his place in Cuba, and all of those other places like the Coast Guard and everyone is just like, "We're here to help you," and then like all the Secret Service, whatever it's like, just like, "Yeah, we want in too. Yeah, we're gonna." It's just fucking rogue mission, and when you think there's gonna be some sort of oversight, they're just like, fuck these guys, let's go get them." And it's such like a fuck yeah, America, hell yeah, like,
fuck the Cubans, man.
And it just glorifies the police in a way too. It just makes the police look so good. Like how, you know, I mean, you put that emblazoned on Will Smith's chest when he just looks like such a badass. Just
all the time,
you know, police on it. Just
he's got so many badass outfits in this movie too that like are awesome. That only he can pull off too, because there are some outfits where he's the type of guy where I look at the clothes that he's wearing and I go, he looks incredible in it. I in no way could ever wear that. Like if I were to come out in like a purple suit, you'd be like, you look like a blueberry or an Oompa or whatever.
No,
I'm serious. Like I get it. Like it's not like there's a level of cool in which very like gregarious outfits will work well on certain people. And like I don't mind getting gregarious in certain places, but like, yeah, some of his outfits, I'm like, holy fuck, like these are so cool on him. And it just is like, he has such a crazy built-in cool factor that really just makes this movie so fun because you're like, everything he's doing is cool. And you're like, I want to be you. I want to like, you know, I love what you're doing and all of that. And it's great. I love it so much.
Primetime Will Smith. And and Martin Lawrence has some jerseys. He's got the Alonzo Mourning jersey, which is fun. And then he's got the Michael Vick jersey, which like is a time and place. I know, but like before all that shit, but still.
Michael Vick coming back a little bit. Like I think there's enough time between the dogfighting stuff. I feel like he's like an announcer or something on shit.
Oh, I have no idea. I just remember that time, like having like when I would play a little bit of Madden here and there, and people would just be like, "Oh man, Michael Vick's just broken in that game because you just fucking
he's on the cover too of that game that he's broken on.
You don't even have to pass; you just run." And, I mean, that's essentially who he was on the field as well. But that's my knowledge. That's my extent of my knowledge of football. It went kind of downhill for him from there. But anyways.
Set pieces.
I mean, we got to talk about that car. That's one of the best car chases, like in any movie ever. Like with all the fucking cars just being thrown off that trailer, like that is one of the coolest fucking things. It's repeated with bodies later because that was what he was feeling at that time for a set piece. But it works much better with cars, and that opening scene is amazing. And then one gets latched onto like a chain as well, and then it's like getting dragged. And it looks like better than the most recent Fast 10. Like we talked about that movie. There's I don't know, like the cold open of that movie on the, you know, we talked about how poopy it kind of looks on the bridge and everything, even worse than it did in Fast 5. And this movie just, like I my frustration with the editing just lies with like, I wanted to see that last a little bit longer, that shot go a bit longer. And when he does, he slows it down. But regardless,
what do you think
of it?
So the editing thing, yeah, is really a point of contention for something like this because there are so many shots that are fucking way close on people for
Right.
like a scene. Like what is happening, there's so many moving parts in it, but
Mhm.
we are all almost like not 80% of the time our POV is like in the car, and not just in the car but like up in somebody's shit, like
Mhm.
right in their face, and then it's editing between everybody's like eyes and face, and
Mhm.
just like people saying cool stuff, and being like, oh shit, oh man, whoa, fuck,
Go,
and all
go,
of that stuff.
go.
But it's
Get
like,
down, get
yeah,
down.
yeah,
I need backup. I need backup.
the sweeps that he does on cameras, oh man. So I loved it. Your question, I loved it. I mean, because it just like,
They might be
man, it
my
just
favorite
goes.
moment in the movie. This chase scene.
I understand because it lasts for a fucking long time too.
Yeah.
Like it is like, and this and this and this and this and
Ramps up
this.
in a cool way. Yeah. Cars
You're
are
just in
flipping
one
like 20 times. Yeah.
blowing up, running into each other, blowing up, falling off bridges. Just oh yeah, it's like multiple different types of cars doing things. Like it's just absolutely incredible, and I think it would just like that scene goes down in like almost movie history.
I agree.
Of being like,
I agree.
like,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
holy fuck, I can't believe they did this, and it looks so cool.
That is the
It's so
strength
fun.
of Michael Bay, like absolute
Yeah,
prime Michael Bay,
100%.
prime Will Smith, like just great car chase. Like that is on my list as favorite car chases for sure.
Oh yeah, for
It
sure.
almost seems
Yeah,
like
and
like it would be in a Nolan movie or something like that. At
yeah,
least that
right. God,
concept of just like chucking cars and
like antenna.
dragging one. Sure, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just play it backwards.
Yep. Okay. So from there, what do we got? Oh, the Haitian thing. Okay, because I have some words about this Haitian like the like the shootout in the like the Haitian house or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay, so there's
With like
this camera.
the
Yeah. Let's talk about. I was
just like
getting
goes like
nauseous.
360.
Straight up nauseous because it was moving so quickly. So it just seemed like
It
there's
does
the
it like
camera
3
is
times.
on a track, a circular
Uh-huh.
track, and then it's just to set people up who haven't seen it in a while. It's like, okay, so bad guys on one side of a wall, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence on another side, and then they're shooting by and large between the wall in certain capacities, all pretty cool. But then it gets to a point where it's like kind of a bit of a standstill, and then the camera is put on this circular track that goes from one side of the wall to the other side of the wall, like sweeping around, and it just revs up at times where I'm like, oh, I'm getting like really like
Yeah.
I'm getting nauseous. It was so crazy to see this happen where it's like, ooh, I don't like this is making me kind of sick because it just was spinning the camera around in a circle so quickly. I just
There is a
and felt
way of
the-
doing that shot. Yeah, in concept it was cooler maybe than in practice, and maybe this is like the Matrix is still kind of feeling its effects here,
Yeah,
even though
sure.
it wasn't necessarily like slow mo, but it was almost like a tableau a little bit. Yeah, maybe like, because he's doing that like dual wielding cool like
Two wheeling on one
holding-
side,
yeah,
right.
both out like that. And Martin Lawrence is kind of behind them, just like. And that's a good line too. And is in the trailer, just like, oh, you want to talk? Like you can't talk because they're shooting at you and all that shit. And then like the whole time I'm like, are they going to shoot through the wall? And then he does, and that was like satisfying of like him like figuring that out of like looking through the
using
mirror.
like the mirror and
like
like shooting through the holes.
I was liking that because
so cool.
You have that idea, and then he gets the idea, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, good. Was worried that he wasn't going to do that. Cool.
Right there, that is such a great thing to articulate into like a very satisfying thing a director in a movie can do is that the main character's in a situation and then in real time with you trying to figure out how you would get out of it, the character figures out how to get out of it. And when they succeed in it, because obviously they're the start of the movie, so they're going to succeed in it. Like it's just so fucking like rewarding and feels so good to be.
And
like,
they're both kind of figuring it out because the enemy's kind of shooting through the holes first. He sees it, and then the guy puts his eyes through, and he caps him. But then there's that weird kind of dark humor with Martin Lawrence just like, well, let's ask this guy, he's fucking dead. And like it's just kind of like, whoa, this is dark. I mean, it's it
Like,
so, somehow it like kind of works, but it just puts you in a place as a viewer where you're like not really sure how Michael Bay feels about it. He thinks it's funnier than it actually is, rather than like, oh yeah, maybe this is like this guy's life where they just deal in death so much that it's just become humorous to them, which is kind of fucked up, but true to their character maybe too. I don't know,
I guess
as policemen, but I don't know.
yeah, I like there's a part of it that I guess like I feel like what it's doing is that it's giving Martin Lawrence is coming off as being like such a like pacifist in this movie. And when he I think the movie's trying to do this thing where when he gets riled up, he overcomes his pacifism and like gets really like aggressive and heated about that, which could feel cool, like him having a win essentially, to not like be so bogged down by his pacifism and just being like, yeah, you know what, that guy's fucking dead, you know, and like really being aggressive. And
he was like trying to keep everyone alive, and it went to shit. And he's just like, "Oh fuck!" Like just
that's right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And he's trying to like give this guy this last. And he's like, "My buddy's about to like blow your head off." Like, you know, you see how well it worked out for everyone else, but you're saying, yeah, like a dead person doesn't talk, a live person doesn't talk, and then they find the camera, and then like there's that whole scene in the video store where they throw the porno on the.
Let's talk about
that's
that.
such like a Michael Bay humor thing too.
That is so dumb. That is like that scene alone takes points off the score for me because it sucks so hard. That scene bad. Because first off, like ultimately the culmination of this is this bit where they're having a sensitive moment as partners and as friends together, and then the movie is making fun of that as like that's gay, like having like a really heart to heart with your buddy.
Oh yeah, the latter half
gay.
of that. Yeah,
and that sucks. That's so lame.
Both of those scenes were so forced. The first one, you know, just for forcing that a porno to be up on the screen was just such like oh, what if that happened? Let's pigeonhole and find out.
So, exactly.
And then the transition from that scene into the next one was like, ooh, gives you a head spin because there's so much uproar over the porno, and then it quickly dies down and there's no background noise, and it goes just to them with very quiet, like dulcet, like background noise. All of a sudden they're like, oh, I thought a bunch of people were upset. Then all of a sudden they're just quiet, and then you're with rapt attention listening to everyone in the background when the owner was just getting super pissed about changing the channel and like what's going on. So it betrayed the logic that they just set up seconds earlier. And then also, what is this room? What is this room? Right,
yeah.
Like I just check out our soundproof room where you can practice, or check out our new video cameras. But yeah, there's some supple leather on those couches, and just like, what is this room for?
Yeah, just like a confessional booth in the back. Yeah, I mean, that scene just from the jump doesn't work for me because of the fact that no store clerk is ever going to just immediately be like, I'm going to attach a camera you bring in to all of the TVs in the store. That'll never happen. It would never happen.
It changed to the porno. He tried to turn it off and hit the button on accident to put it on every single screen, which is just such a goof. But it's so forced. So stupid.
Yeah, it's way too forced, and then the button on it, them, you know, two guys having a sensitive conversation being gay and that's inappropriate is so fucking lame. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, that whole bit just it sucks so hard. It's where rough. Michael Bay's like dumb, shitty sensibilities really comes out, where he's just like,
and it's also
oh my god, this is gonna be so funny. We have to do this. It's in the fucking movie. We have to do this, and it just.
And what does Will Smith say? We're like, yeah, we don't even have to fully digest it, but yeah, it's like it's
something about like
because it shows two gay men commentating on it and being like, that poor man is pouring out his heart to him, and then Will Smith is like, take all this shit, put it in a box, and throw it in the ocean, and they're like, oh, that poor, like he's not listening, and then it's just like, oh, so you have to, it implies that you have to be homosexual, you have to be gay in order to have feelings is essentially, and be able to talk with another man about your feelings and about something going on in your life. Like you have to essentially like
that's only reserved to gay men. Yeah.
And fuck and essentially fuck therapy a lot.
Fuck therapy. Yeah. Fuck therapy. You know what men do is they put all their emotions in a box, throw it in the ocean. Don't ever tell me this shit. And it's like,
that's how you get to be Will Smith and cool fucking badass Will Smith.
Right.
That's
and
how
like,
you get to do that.
I don't know. The problem is like, if the movie had a better sensibility or was smarter, like you would rag on Will Smith in that situation. Like he's the problem. Like Martin Lawrence is just telling Will Smith, his best friend, an issue he's having in his personal life.
Yeah.
Like that's not unreasonable for a friend to like talk to another friend about, who, especially they thought that they were in, private or whatever. They were in a sound booth. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Again, what is that room? Hashtag what's that room about?
What is that room? They're shooting pornos in the video store. Why should they be so mad?
I know, fucking so weird. And that must have been a thing. Do you remember any of those? I feel like maybe there were those types of rooms, like at, remember those stores that were just like TV stores, video store?
Maybe, yeah, but I don't understand it being enclosed unless you really want to show off the audio fidelity of this video camera. Like,
right, but that's not what it was about. Yeah,
it was weirdly, very strangely set up. the whole
it is
situation.
Sole purpose of that room is for you to record yourself, and like, are you gonna send people that recording after they leave the store? Like, what's the deal? Like, what,
they're all set up on tripods.
What is the goal there? Like, what do you get out of that? You're like, yeah, okay, it recorded.
And how did
the
you
video.
get a direct feed into that room? Did they hit a camera button like inside there? Like, because it was switched to that other camera of theirs that was broken.
Why is
and then
that
it switched to a camera in that room? Why the dad came over to stop it? Why does he not know how to work the system as well? Did he accidentally switch it to that video camera? Like what is happening?
God, you're so right.
They're forcing this joke down our throat. That's not even funny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so probably the lowest part of the movie is what we just discussed right there. I would easily say the worst part of the movie.
It's just like a big zit on like pretty good.
Like a Will Smith mug. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Look at Will Smith. He's such a bad. He looks so good. What is? Oh, just a bad hair day or some bad.
No, he's today. Just an emotionally stunted homophobic dude. Yeah. Oops. Anyways. Just like how that scene sucked the life out of me a little bit.
Almost like their dynamic almost is kind of close to when I think of like Lethal Weapon, where like Mel Gibson is kind of hot shot, sort of attractive, like single sort of dude that doesn't, that is a little bit more just destructive or doesn't have as much love. And Danny Glover is family man, and a little
sensitive, more considerate. Yeah, has a wife that he loves and understands, which is like. Yeah,
I just don't remember Mel Gibson like giving him that much shit for that. I just remember just him trying to push him more to like do more.
Totally. I mean, maybe we're misremembering.
But there's a lot of Danny Glover giving Mel Gibson. But they're both giving each other shit. I'm sure.
I don't think there's ever been a time in Lethal Weapon where Mel Gibson's like, you're being a homo for like liking.
Maybe I don't know.
Liking something that is like sensitive or emotional or whatever. I don't remember that ever happening, and that's definitely what just happened in this movie. Is just like you're like homo and very derogatory about it if you are talking to your friend about essentially like his sex life with his wife, where he's having a hard time getting up because
he got shot in the ass.
Scared.
And guess whose fault that is? Guess whose fault that is? He's like, this is directly your fault. And he's like, I don't want to fucking talk about it. He's like, you're the one who shot me in the ass. Which was that was kind of a funny slow mo where just you see the bullet like
it was such a cool slow mo
right through his fucking tushy.
It follows the bullet like all the way to the guy. It was like all of that slow mo, which must have cost a shitload of money, all for an ass shot.
That's got to be fun to know. You're like, we're spending so much for an ass shot. Can we take
and then how many people were just like, it's not even a big deal, and he's just making such a huge deal about it and just being like, I've been shot, I'm dying, and then everybody's like, no, you're not even a big deal. But yeah,
and then like figuring out, it's like, you shot me. He's like, what? I mean, I was shooting, but it's they're back and forth is great. I'm gonna take a bathroom break and
let's take a break.
We'll
be right back.
We are back. Yes. I was trying to think of like, besides conflict, there's the conflict with our main villain, and then the only conflict
Yes.
really between them has to do with a little, love interest, Gabrielle Union. Is she in the first one? It's been a while. Is she,
No, she's not.
she's not.
Uh-uh.
She plays Martin Lawrence's
Randall.
sister, Will Smith's love interest, and then that's their kind of tiff that happens near the beginning of the third act with the last two big fucking set pieces that just keep this movie going another half hour to 45 minutes. But her involvement also is as a mole and someone who's trying to infiltrate and essentially front as someone who's taking care of their money laundering issues that they're having, the lead antagonist bad guy. And yeah, that whole involvement and keeping everything, it seems like, in house with all like a small cast of characters. It works fine, I think, and I
Mhm.
think she is just so great in like, to include her within how great all the chemistry is between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. She's definitely included within that because there's scenes with, with her and Will Smith, her and Martin Lawrence, and then all of them together that just works well within that kind of awkward, funny dynamic of that whole kind of thing that could come off as like a little more contrived and kind of like a trope of having the
It adds a lot of
best
stakes
friend
to
into the
things too.
sister and everything too. But yeah, and her standing on her own and actually being involved and being able to tell them to stand back while she's trying to get shit done. They're kind of mucking it up as well. I think that adds a nice dynamic to her. That's not just those things I mentioned as far as being, love interest and brother. She's also a big part of the story otherwise as well. Yeah, I mean, and it's I just think it's cool that she's with Dwayne Wade. I think that's a fun little thing of
Oh, fun.
and just
Oh, wow. I
movies
didn't know
like
that.
for Miami. And he just got
Yeah.
inducted into the Hall of Fame recently, so yeah,
Oh.
congrats to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great player. Yeah, and wearing the Alonzo Mourning jersey and all that stuff with her right there. I was like, oh, that's fun. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Did you like the villain? I like that actor as well. That and he drops like the other dude, Peter Stormare's buddy's like body in a barrel right next to him. That scene was like pretty intense. There's a good amount of like dark, yeah, like grisly shit for in this Michael Bay movie, which he's kind of a master of PG-13 movies in my
Uh-huh.
mind, like PG-13 action movies. I feel like he's really good at keeping the action at a PG-13 rating, and the things that he does choose to push it into that R section is interesting. Obviously, just just having a lot of topless women is going to be one thing, but then also, yeah, just like body parts just getting blown up, like those guys that, and it's such a stupid thing, like, oh, what is this weird like toy that came up to visit us and we're playing soccer? Oh, what is this? Oh, let's play with it. And then just blows up. This is just it's some of that's all this sort of setup stuff is just such a movie where, yeah, again, you're watching a movie with some of this stuff because it's just, you gotta throw logic out of the window a little bit, and things move so fast that you can't resonate with a lot. But
Yeah.
what did you think about, yeah, the whole antagonist plot and him and the drugs to in caskets to Cuba and whatnot?
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting. A lot of the time spent with the main villain, it's like family stuff. It's like, I don't know. You get a sense that he is wanting to prove himself, and it isn't so much about like being totally like evil and bad, like stereotypical. That I think there's a little bit more depth and a little bit more time paid in the movie to like show his frustrations, show like the how he wants to be this main player because of like a sense of like not honor, but bringing bringing value to his family. And I think there's with the stuff, the scenes with his daughter and just the stuff at his house and the villain's mother and all of that. I don't know. It seemed like it seemed unique. I dug it.
I guess like at the same time he is trying to take more control but also leave, which I guess is interesting, where he's like,
right,
he's like sign very like broad, sort of just like sign over control for everything. It's like kind of what he's just like, I get control of everything. Don't worry about it. I get all the clubs. All the clubs are mine. And it's just like one document, just like boom, your buddy's in a barrel.
It's so funny a document that does that.
Yeah,
it's like that's gonna hold up in court. Yeah, that's how that works. Sign this paper.
Peter Stormare going out is a little anticlimactic, but it's cool that he does get a little bit of like a last final like, oh fuck you, and he just shows up drunk and then just gets shot down. I mean, it's kind of funny. He just crashes his car drunk to the whole thing, and that's just like, oh, let's more chaos into this moment. But yeah, that's, and then he seems kind of just strung out the whole movie. I could see it just being just exhaustion from staying up all night looking over your shoulder.
It's in his eyes
and all that
man.
stuff. But he just looks like, is he just doing ecstasy in a different way than all of us have?
Again, it's just so weird that ecstasy is the drug that
you don't see it. He's not like sitting there Scarface style with a big pile of, I don't know. He's got the biggest glass of, was it brandy? That's not wine, right? That's brandy. Right? That's the biggest fucking brandy glass. That was essentially half a bottle. I'm sure how big that glass was. And I'm glad they got a picture of him taking a sip, because it was just like, whoa, whoa. And then Peter Stormare like grabs the paper and spills some of his, because it's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? That's very top heavy glass. And then he's just talking shit on the house the whole time and about how his house is gonna be perfect. And if we're getting like near the end of this movie, I'd say the one thing is like, I take some qualms with the fact that there's like just two big fucking set pieces, one after the other, which kind of rival each other in a very similar way. One, they're going in as a raid to just, but like a drug bust essentially, and get the guys. Second one is to save, someone who's kidnapped. But both of them essentially accomplish the same thing. And I just really question in a 2.5 hour action movie of combining the best elements of those two things into one, and whatever, if he kidnaps or have him kidnap her earlier in the movie and then have it just revolve around both of those things. But having that whole drug bust thing and then have him get away to Cuba, and it's 2 hours in, and then they gotta go to fucking Cuba. I was like, wow. And it does blow my mind just how quick Michael Bay does this, where just Joey Pants and the Coast Guard and everyone comes in. We're like, yeah, we're gonna fucking do it, no question. Like, this is gonna be the quickest like hostage situation ever, that we're going under all the red tape, like yellow tape, whatever. Like, it's all good. We're gonna figure it out. And they do, and they go on this mission, and it's just a whole nother raid and bus, and they save the day, and save
just completely blow up his mansion in Cuba. My God. Yeah. I'm just so curious. What is that? Just an actual mansion explosion, Cuba, and they're just allowed to just blow shit up there? I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah, it seems almost like a set, like a hastily, but it does also seem like a house. I don't know. And there's a lot of rocket launchers. The effects aren't like spot on, but it's cool to see just like people just like pull out a fucking rocket launcher. Oh shit, dude! Like those guys pop out of the ground and they just like. That's like in an action movie. That's just as Michael Bay, it just strikes me as a young boy, because as a young boy, just be like, "Fuck, they got rocket launchers! Shit, cool!"
Right? That's absolutely, awesome. God, and it's fun to see on screen. I mean, this whole movie cranks along, and there's not too much of the slow down stuff. I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun movie, man. It's a really good movie.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
It's a representation of, someone, in my mind, people not saying no to Michael Bay, and that it would be my criticisms, and it shows. And I think my overall feelings towards Michael Bay has kind of changed as my life has gone on, a better understanding, but also like subjectively a better understanding of my taste in movies. And it's a hard thing to decipher exactly where the line is drawn and everything. But I think more and more these movies are kind of exhausting. But just absolutely breathtaking set pieces and action, and the chemistry between all the leads is one of the more memorable buddy cop movies you could fucking get for the bargain. And the money is all on the screen. It looks like these again, that car chase is fucking nuts, and you could be like, which one?
Sure, yeah.
But
which mansion, which explosion, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. This movie is overstuffed with it has all the things. Yeah.
And more. Let's get into some reviews. Again, this is a movie from 2003. It is a 23% from critics, a 78% from audience. Let's check out some critic reviews first and see why they were so poopy doopy snoopy. It says 0 from Peter Travers on Rolling Stone. So let's start on the bottom.
Oh, wow. Here. Peter.
And
Peter's a harsh critic.
Literally says what we just said, but he gives it a bad rating because it goes a different direction. 0 from Peter Travers. He says, Bad Boys 2 has everything. Everything loud, dumb, violent, sexist, racist, misogynistic, and homophobic that producer Jerry Bruckheimer and director Michael Bay can think of puking up on screen.
Oof.
No spank you.
Yeah. No spank you.
From TV Guide magazine, Matlin McDonough, 20, there's at least one ending too many. Union regularly vanishes for long stretches of the movie, and director Michael Bay's unmitigated pandering to viewers who whoop with glee whenever someone gets it between the eyes is genuinely distasteful.
Yeah. It's the distaste thing that's just gonna, I feel like, keep cropping up, where you're like, oh yeah, the way that they treat dead bodies, the way that they treat, I don't know, a bunch of different like groups of people very poorly. Yeah.
They're
all like casualties in the they're all just like in the crossfire, casualties of this go exploding movie.
Yeah. Like USA Today, Mike Clark 38 says appallingly mean-spirited.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's something that we've talked about. That's funny that we're overlooking that, or at least I am. That is interesting. Okay.
That is a criticism that we levy against movies a lot, especially comedies and maybe even horror movies to an extent, using people as fodder in ways. He's definitely guilty of it. And there's certain things of this that just rise above all the other bullshit that is in a lot of his movies. And even something like, I remember seeing Six Underground and like being like, this is a bad movie, but somehow like I just sat and watched all of it, and it was like really dumb and entertaining at the same time and bad. I don't know. It's all of those things. Like somehow it just keeps you in. This movie's much better. I'll do maybe one more let's do the Globe and Mail from Rick Groan. Smith and Lawrence, he gave it a 38. Smith and Lawrence enjoyed some amusing chemistry in the 95 original, but their molecules sure aren't jibing here. It's a full hour into this behemoth before there's anything resembling a belly laugh.
Oh.
Rick really looking for those belly laughs.
Belly laughs, yeah.
Give me a belly laugh or you don't get a good rating. I'm Rick. Rick Groan. And I groan occasionally as well. Let's check out some positive reviews from audience members. I have 2 here from FluberTuberTube and Fuck the Police that both say epic. Just one word, epic. 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10 from Magnesium Dew. Possibly one of the worst movies ever, but it is funny as hell, and everyone, any people of nervous dispositions, should watch this. Probably not worth buying, but one of the best, worst films of all time.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Fuck. Okay. Yeah.
From Oswald Ferreira, a 10 out of 10. One of the funniest, most energetic buddy action films out there. Bad Boys 2 is certainly cliched, but damn, is it satisfying to watch. The action scenes are like controlled chaos. The cast does a solid job, and the plot is actually comprehensible, unlike most action films today. If you still nurture that part of you that likes to see ass kickings, shootouts, explosions, crashes, hot women, etc., then you'll have a hard time finding anything much better than this.
Wow.
7 out of 49 users found that helpful. 42 people did not find that helpful. There's so many of these that just say epic. There's just like a bunch of one word epic from a lot of people. And I feel like that's like a one word copy pasta that's forming, and I love it. The Godfather's Son gave it a 10. It's been almost 12 years since Bad Boys 2 hit theaters and blew my mind. This was written in 2015. I don't even remember the noisy first movie. I just didn't like it that much, even though it has higher ratings. Bad Boys 2 completely changes the game by throwing in more drugs, sex, and stupendously bloody violence. And boy, was it entertaining. Michael Bay is one of the most disliked directors, okay, but with BB2, he totally has realized a new genre of action thrillers on their own. For example, the car chases are the most best chases I've ever seen in a movie. Most best. He blends Lethal Weapon and Boys in the Hood and Pineapple Express together and experiments with his movie elements. The result is a lush Miami setting. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence at their comedic best. A drug-fueled story, car and gun chases, and sexy women. It's car and gun chases.
Jesus. And sexy women.
Those gun chases. What more could you want from it? The guns chasing. Oh, they're doing me. Oh, the gun's gonna get me. What more could you want from an action movie? It's not a movie for serious critics or people who don't like action movies. BB2 is a hidden classic action flick. It's well paced. Yeah. Smartly written and brilliantly acted. The appeal is beautiful and it still technically holds up in 2015. I hope the third one is good. The nose fun you will have watching a movie, period. I must be most fun. The nose fun.
I was going to say, well, you could have some nose fun with this movie and probably enjoy it. Just as much.
No, this is an ecstasy movie, Brandon.
Oh, yes, right. Sorry.
Yeah, well, some feelings. I mean, for the critics as to why they didn't like it. Yeah, I mean, Peter Travers, he's always a fun one to bring up, and it seemed like he really didn't like the sensibility of Michael Bay at this point, and a lot of, even the things that we criticize. And yeah, I don't know. So somehow it's just maybe because we've grown up with these movies a bit more, but able to like overlook some of those things, and for the higher purpose of a fun action movie, the idea that maybe this isn't full cop out, but these characters not being Boy Scouts, especially the bad guys, and, police officers that are, flying, like fucking shit up in the face of the law, and going by the, their own rules and everything. It's like, there's going to be some, gray area there, and there's going to be some shit that's not so savory. And that almost kind of works. Yeah. Again, for the characters and at this time, and, the sensibilities may not reach everybody, but, it never really was made for the critics. It was, it's a popcorn blockbuster movie. We come around this point a lot, as far as,
especially this, this time of year, we've been doing this as well. This is part of ostensibly a series of doing these blockbuster movies. And this is, a great use case of, it's understandable why the critics don't like it, but there is, I think if you're going to a movie to be thrilled and entertained, there's a lot of stuff in here that doesn't require dialogue. It just requires shooting things that are not just shooting it from a director standpoint, but shooting it with a gun standpoint that is very thrilling and is something that is fun to go see, especially when the weather's hot and the theaters are cool. Like, you want to just see, I don't know, people get into some shit that's really wild and crazy with bazookas and exploding houses and like car chases and all of that. And that, very fun.
There's some excellent action, and if I can just roll into my review, I'd say some of my qualms would probably be, that, like I said, the editing is something that watching Michael Bay movies at this point in my life, I feel like I do have to be in the right kind of mood after seeing like things progress in a way from this, even with the Bourne movies and whatnot, to the point where like editing and quick cuts got, untenable in action movies to the point where it was too much and too quick and too shaky cam and all that stuff. And this kind of has the writing on the wall in this movie for what's to come. And
it's that movie that has Liam Neeson. Is it like
that's like Taken 2 or 3 or 4? I don't know. I think it's like,
well, there's like, what is it? It's like 19 cuts for just him jumping over a fence. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. You showed me that clip a while back, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is like where that's what that's leading to. And Michael Bay has been doing this for a long time. But I just, in the same way that this is maximalist in a lot of good ways, like I like that this is a big movie with a lot of set pieces, and somebody that is having fun and doing what they want. But yeah, it definitely has cons to it as well, where I think they could have wrapped those two set pieces together. Like I just said, that I liked a lot of them, but still, like, you could find a way to put them together at the end. I didn't mention that fucking Hummer going down and just blasting through all those favelas and like all the, like, oh my God, that shit was amazing. Like that, it was, I don't know, it looks good. Like he was really crashing into stuff. Again, all these Fast and Furious movies, like he's going down a dam and it's a crazy idea and conceptually and everything, but just doesn't look real. And then Michael Bay, it's like, I just want him to hold on some of those shots, but still it just looks so cool seeing that car just blast down that hill. But anyways, yeah, those tightened some of those things up and like consolidated a bit. And let me see some more hold on those shots a little bit more. Yeah, definitely the sensibility of Michael Bay is something I'm always going to have qualms with, and there's always going to be, no, it's never going to be a perfect score for him, because the guy just
definitely not.
The guy just is not ever going to get it completely right for me, I don't think, ever. And that's just like no fault of his own. Few people do, and anybody, for finding like a perfect movie or anything. But as good, this is really like as good as it kind of gets for him in a lot of ways. And the reasons I do like Pain and Gain as well kind of come out in this one, but I think the cast is better in this one, even than Pain and Gain. And it does come across as cool still. Like Will Smith is so just looks so fucking cool, and I can't mention enough, them together is gold casting. It's Will Smith and Michael Bay together work as an action duo at this time in both of their careers. It's electric, what's on screen. And so it's going to get a positive review from me. I'm feeling a 72, like a nice 70 range feels right for it. I feel like that's positive, and I think there's enough in this movie that I do have criticisms of, that I wouldn't push it too far past that, but I would recommend it for sure for an action movie, if you got 2.5 hours to get into something. But it's it's a fun action movie for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I guess I can look at my notes real quick before you move on. Let me see if there's any fun quotes. I'm sorry, I just cut you off. I think I just got mad. Jesus fuck. I like that one. I've been using that one since I watched it. This some sick shit. It's about to get sicker. Yeah. That one puckered up my butthole. Will Smith gave a forward-facing middle finger to some guys as you walking past, like those two guys that are like always give him shit in the office and everything. He like does a forward-facing middle finger, if that makes sense. Like the hands facing forward. Why don't you exercise your right to shut the fuck up? X-Man, they keep on calling him the X-Man, which I just thought was just funny. Like, it's like dealing ecstasy and just like, yeah, I'm an X-Man.
I'm the X-Man.
And it's just Wolverine just dealing ecstasy. No, it'd be great. I have spinning shot during stand-up, of course. What is this video camera room? Yeah, okay. Oh yes, the rats fucking.
Yeah,
just had to mention that real quick. I think the line "they fuck like us" is pretty great, and the fact that they had to get like animatronic, they look like animatronic or puppeteered mice to like go missionary style and it's such a weird little boy's sick sense of humor. I don't know, like edgelord kind of humor. It is,
yeah, for sure.
But "they fuck like us," I think, is a great line. the finger jokes. He's got his finger like hanging out like in the office. He's like, hey, give me a print on this. I'm like, that's a human being's finger. Jesus fucking Christ. And the one guy is like, can you teach me how to shoot people? Asks him when he's like walking away at one point. And it's just a weird, like, hey, can you teach, like, show me how to be cool, essentially. And then Dan Marino shows up for a second. Had to mention him. He's asking how the no, it's not S.
What is it? Yeah, it's a Cadillac.
It makes me think of Matrix Reloaded, where they drive that same car. And
Dan Marino would love this.
Another great fucking car chase scene with that car, the Cadillac at the time. Cinematography works for Miami. That boy bit me in the train scene. And then that whole thing where they like grill the guy who's trying to take out the daughter, right? I think that's a great scene where like Martin Lawrence answers the door. He's like, he's grilling the guy who's trying to take his daughter out, and then Will Smith comes up with the bottle, and they're just like, you smoke that shit, you smoke that. You like ask him if he smokes weed and stuff, and like Will Smith is like playing like,
and he really pulls out a gun on that little kid, and the kid just like
pointing the gun, and everything, I don't
know, handles it really well.
It is funny, and just like Martin Lawrence is just so funny. And then one of his other lines, "Ain't gonna be no fucking tonight."
Yep.
Ain't gonna be no fucking tonight.
Tonight.
I think is also great. He has Pepto just ready to go in the scene with all like the dead bodies. He's like, I need some Pepto, and he just pulls out Pepto Bismol immediately.
Upset dummy.
And Will Smith is talking about all the dead bodies and how he learned it from the Learning Channel and shit. It's it's such interesting humor. And then how does he not see the pills that he's drinking? Whatever. Supple leather. Yeah, that's pretty much it. They use like the cats and the iguanas to trip the wire. Yeah, there's just some funny, goofy shit in this movie.
Goofy ass shit.
All right, that's all. Sorry.
No. I pulled up my notes too, and it's just like my notes are, that's some funny shit. Martin Lawrence getting shit on is pretty funny, man. So many ecstasy pills.
I have to say, like, Blue Streak is one of my favorite action comedies like ever as well. Like that movie is endlessly rewatchable for me as well. And I threw it on recently, and yeah, love it. He's so good in it.
Okay, so for me,
as he says, as Luke Wilson, I probably sound like Luke Wilson more so in that movie, where I sound like a square. Believe that, and that's what he said. He's like, believe that. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, so like this movie, for all of its action and highlights, this is a relatively hollow movie because there are a lot of sensibilities from Michael Bay that are really dated, unfortunate, grating, and it's a tough thing to wrestle with because, again, like we've just been so steeped in with our series of summer movies, is that there is this this seesaw or this kind of, exercise that you have to go through of like, it's okay to turn your brain off and just really enjoy a lot of stuff being put on the screen. And that's okay. And you don't necessarily it doesn't need to have like, it doesn't need to be perfect. Things don't need to be perfect. Right. But ultimately, this movie has a lot of stuff in it that is really hollow, that is so showy, that is so just like has this undercurrent of like really kind of a shitty persona to it that really detracts a lot of this from this movie for me. But the highlights of it are really high. So it's almost like there's really high highs and really low lows. So when I'm thinking about the score of this, is like, I really just want to put this, like you did, like a firmly in the 70 range, because like, I don't know, if you were to just kind of cut this or watch it on TV and be for parts of it, it's like, man, this is some stuff that you really couldn't get anywhere else at this caliber or in the style at this level. And so it just is, it's such a, it's also too, it is difficult to not bring baggage to this Bay movie, having lived a life where Bay has made a bunch of movies now like this, and to much worse effect, because it's like really too glossy and really annoying in the editing. The color correction is absolutely absurd, which in this movie, it's pretty absurd too. There are just scenes where the background is blue and then the foreground will be yellow. and then there's just all of this weird, color stuff that's going on that just makes this movie come off as this very glossy Ferrari. Like this movie is Will Smith's car in this.
Mhm.
It's actually not the best car, but what when you see the car on the road doing stuff, you can kind of forget that it's actually not the fastest car or it's not the best car because it's just doing cool shit on the road, and it has a sleekness to it that's really, it can be very captivating. And so I think for me, I want to almost lean, especially since we're going to get into more movies that are really big, and we've been doing that, but like I just fundamentally, I think I want to recommend, like put this a little bit higher because the dynamic between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence is so good, and I
Yeah.
just really hang my hat on that a lot.
Mhm.
And then obviously it's supplemented by the some of the insane action sequences in this. But I don't know. I think their relationship is really just so fun because I think that this movie could have been a one-hander where it is much more like hard-boiled, grittier, and ostensibly maybe more boring. But this movie has a lot of comedic flourishes in it that allows you to carry from, it may be shakily at times, but carry you from one action sequence to the next in a way that's really enjoyable. So like, I think for me, I'm going to give this a 79 is how I'm feeling about this. I think to leave it, Bad Boys 2 has a lot of cool shit in it. And yeah, I think if you were to just kind of like do a Men in Black, remove the movies that Michael Bay have done after this, and if you were to just be in the moment when this movie came out, I think you could relinquish a lot of baggage that would allow you to go like, wow, this is something I haven't seen a lot of, which
to make a great sequel as well. I mean, we touched
for
on
sure,
that too,
yeah.
but like to make a sequel that, yeah, arguably is even better than the first.
Bigger, bolder.
A lot of people would probably just watch this one instead. I don't know. I feel like people cite this one as like, oh, Bad Boys 2 is the one to watch. But I mean, we're in the same range, and this was this was one that we threw on my bachelor party recently, like late night, and it was fun for that too, just like casual, like end of the night sort of thing. And
don't have to think too hard about it. You can see some cool shit,
some funny stuff, and I think that's I know people say mean spirited and some of the criticisms and everything, but there is like a joy, to him as well, and what he's trying to do is trying to be fun, even if it's at the cost of some people sometimes. But great. I had a fucking awesome discussion. Again, like I gotta say one more time, man, that car chase scene, I gotta make like a list of Letterbox or something of favorite car chase scenes, but that one's going up there. Now I'm thinking like Matrix Reloaded. I mean, you even brought up like what, Tenet earlier, even that. Yeah.
Tenet.
Like that's a great fucking car chase scene or whatever. Like you think about that movie, the car chase scene is where it hits for sure. All right. Well, for next time, please join us as we do another sequel, a screamquel, if you will. We're going into spooky territory for just an episode, I believe. It is Scream 2 from 1997. It is a polarizing movie. It is a critically favored polarizing movie, which makes it extra fun. It is an 82% from critics, certified fresh, and a poopy doopy snoopy 58% from the audience. What's going on? We will discuss it, and we're very excited. We have a special returning guest. And just put it into perspective, the original Scream was an 81 from critics and an 80 from audience. So we'll see what went wrong here for the second one for that audience side of things. For us here at Polarized on this Bad Boys 2 episode, it's been a true pleasure, a true blast as your forever guest, your forever host, Brandini. Thank you, good sir. From this Polarized Kingdom to you on this lovely summer evening. If you want to reach us, we're polarizedthepod@gmail.com. We're at PolarizedPod on x.com. We are streaming live on twitch.tv/polarizedpod if you want to catch us there, or even on YouTube, Polarized Pod. I believe there's some recordings on there if that's an easier way to listen to the podcast. If you want to catch another podcast that we do occasionally, it's called Prod Pod. We talk about music producers, me and Brandini, and our one of our guests, one of the Blarges, Corey Hart. And yeah, we talk about music producers. We just did our Max Martin episode, and it was legendary, if you want my honest opinion about it, because it was,
I agree.
I think, a memorable point in my life listening to all his music again, as if it already wasn't. And if you don't know who he is, I'd highly recommend you look him up. He's done a lot of cool shit. And we
love his stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about other people like Barry Gordy from Motown and Todd Rundgren and Diplo. And yeah, we're going to keep on trucking with that one. And join us next time again for Scream 2. We love you all, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.